So our goal in 2025 is to help you thrive, me thrive, all of us thrive. And our next guest podcast is all about helping you thrive in relationships. Jordana Abraham is the co-founder of Betches Media, a self-proclaimed relationship enthusiast, along with her sister, Dr. Naomi Bernstein, is a licensed clinical therapist. Together, they host the hit podcast. It's called Oversharing. It's the story of my life. Fans say it feels like sitting at brunch with your best friend and therapist, talking about the relationship challenges we all face, from love to friendship to family dynamic. Here they are giving advice to a listener who was worried he was love bombing in a new relationship. Take a listen.
I like this question because I think this term love bombing gets thrown around a lot. I feel like it's thrown at anyone who's kind of in a hot and heavy thing. And I think in the beginning of a relationship, that's not necessarily like a bad sign.
Everyone's so scared. I get it. We're all scared. We've all been burnt. We create words like love bombing as like a, fear tactic of like, watch out for this. But unless you're feeling controlled, unless you're feeling like if you set a boundary, the other person's going to get angry, or it's like huge, extravagant things, like we always talk about, being prepared isn't going to make it that much more bearable. I think everyone out there needs to realize, like, sometimes relationships don't work out, and it doesn't mean that the person that's ending it is a bad person.
Very nice. Please welcome to the dance. I'm Jordana Abraham and Dr. Naomi Bernstein. I love this for many reasons. Jordana, you were saying that it's really cool to have someone who is licensed to give advice, and then just the best friend that we all want. And that's the combo that you both offer.
Exactly, because a lot of the times you get a friend who knows you really well and knows your whole social scene really well, but isn't an expert and might not be giving the best advice. And then other times you get a real therapist who might not be involved in your day-to-day and know how feasible a lot of the advice could be.
Well, Dr. Naomi, I like it because we don't have to pay. Because if you go to therapy, the bills can rack up, turn it into the insurance, having to get all those things. You are free to give us this advice. I know that you said you always wanted to be a psychologist, but after your first bad breakup, you wanted to figure out a way to make it hurt less. That really hit me because I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, so the first time that I experienced a breakup, I never experienced anything like that. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I wasn't functioning well. I was in college at the time, and I was kind of figuring out what my major was going to be.
You sound like all the love songs we say. I can't eat, I can't sleep. You hit a nerve there.
Yes, it knocked me off my socks, and I didn't know what to do. And I was studying at the time. I said, you know what? I need to figure this out so I can find my peace again. And I dug into psychology, and I started to say, okay, I'm learning this stuff. It's starting to work, and maybe I can teach other people how to get through these waves that come in life. So,
Jordana, are you surprised how receiving people are to the advice? Because, there's this old adage, don't give anybody advice because you don't want to be in their business. But it seems like people really want good advice. That's the difference, right? It's good advice that you want.
For sure. And I think that's kind of the beauty of the podcast and what we're doing is that you're getting the practical and maybe again less psychological along with an expert. So you're not just you're not just letting your friend run wild. You're getting someone who really knows good practices.
And you all go there, as we like to say, including we have the clip with how to deal with an overstepping mother-in-law. Take a listen.
My fiance and I had just gotten engaged, and it was late at night on a Sunday. No makeup, kind of tired, but very happy. However, we sent the pic to my future mother-in-law, and I guess she agreed because she face-tuned me to add a full face of makeup before reposting the photo on social media and sending a framed version to us. I find it very triggering when someone else photoshops you.
I had never heard of this until I heard the podcast. I'm speechless now. Are you ever taken aback by things that happen in folks' lives?
Oh, totally. I think that there's so many things that people do that are shocking that, most people, I think if they did any of these things, they'd be mortified. But then when you get we're kind of getting all these emails from people who are writing about the most obscene thing that someone in their life has done.
Are you ever worried about, oh gosh, I'm going too far with my advice? Do you reel your advice in? Because I'd be like, go to your mother-in-law right now.
Well, that's really what Dr. Naomi is for. Because sometimes I'll be like, this person's really annoying. This mother-in-law is terrible. She's awful. And then she'll be like, oh, let's think, what is
why she did this, or
what is she scared of? You always ask.
So you're
right.
the walk us off the ledge.
Yes, yes. When you're angry at someone, sometimes it's really helpful to look at what are they scared of? What are they reacting to? What's bringing this up in them? And it just softens it.
That's very go high of you, Dr. Naomi. Very go high.
Yeah,
Jordana and Naomi are sticking around. We're going to read another email and find out how their dynamic as sisters play a role in what they bring in the podcast world. We'll be right back.
To not be in a bad mood anymore, but I don't want anyone to make a comment about it.
That's very true. I have a specific memory with like these orange ices. I was probably like 7 or 8 at the time. I don't like sharing because I have a lot of siblings and I have to share everything. And we were on the beach in Aruba and we had these like orange ices that my dad got for me. And then Jonathan, our brother, he's like, can I have some? He took like this huge bite of it and I like freaked out and I like threw it on the floor. And I just remember everyone around me like laughing at me because
I was probably laughing. I'm sorry.
You know what I mean? Where someone's acting so like bratty. Now you're like, okay, now I really have to freak out because like now I'm even angrier.
I think I have a picture.
You used to take pictures of me when I was crying. It was really mean. You're kind of like, I don't want to be this person, but it's too late for me.
I love it. Welcome back. That was a clip of co-hosts of Oversharing podcast, Jordana Abraham and Dr. Naomi Bernstein, who give advice to their listeners navigating friendships, relationships, and family ships, as you just saw there. I love that topic about people commenting on your bad mood.
Yes. Because I think that, for me, I think if someone's commenting on it, then you almost become more set in your ways.
Right. Because you say, I'm not in a bad mood, even though you know you are. Suddenly when someone says, oh, you seem like you're in a bad mood. No, I'm not.
Yes, and then you don't know how to come out of it. You're like, do I do it right now just because they mentioned it? I don't know if I should just subtly come out of my mood or, just all of a sudden be like, all right, I'm over it.
Right, or pretend like you're not, or tell them why.
Yeah.
So you are big on, I love the title oversharing, because that's not a negative. That's a good thing.
Oh, we
isn't
love
it
a good
to overshare?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because some people, they'll you apologize. I know I'm oversharing. And I said, well, no, I want to hear it all.
That's connection.
That is connection.
That's how being vulnerable is the way that two people connect. I've always believed that you have that one moment where someone says something that's deep, that's personal, and all of a sudden, bam, your relationship is brought to a whole new level.
As I mentioned, you get a lot of emails. You get a lot of people who reach out. I think we have one of the emails that was sent in, and you answered. Let's play it.
Hi, Jordana and Dr. Naomi. I have a triggered scenario that I would like your opinion on. For context, my husband and I are in our early 30s. He is insisting that he needs to buy a new Xbox to play a newly released game with his friends. I told him I feel like it's a waste of money. It's around $500. He claims that he needs it for his mental health and argues it's the same thing as paying for my gym membership. I do think he has somewhat of a point. If I'm being honest. Is it as many or as clearly obvious as a gym membership? No.
Right.
Does that mean he should spend $500 on it? Not necessarily.
Right.
But I do think it's not like a totally outrageous point.
It's interesting because I have a lot of patients where we're kind of like, what's the benefit of distraction? I think there is a lot of space for distraction. So like whether it's video games or Wordle or reality TV or
Takes you out of your own head.
yes,
A little bit. Yeah.
And I think it can be good to just give your mind something else to think about.
I like that answer. I like that because I was watching the audience through my SATA because I watched them to see their reaction. At first blush, you hear some guy wants to buy a video game, and you think, oh my gosh, what a lazy. And then you put in a perspective of a gym membership, or if one of us wants to buy a new pair of shoes to decompress, or a new lipstick to make us feel better. We process it different, but at first blush, when you hear this guy wants to get his video game, it's easy to judge until you dig into it. It's an escape. It's our watching the Housewives.
Yes. And I talk about meditation a lot, which is kind of trying to quiet that constant chatter that's in your mind. And this is a different way to quiet that constant chatter that's in your mind. So, yeah, I had the same reaction at first, like, oh, video game, because I don't play video games. So your natural reaction is, oh, I don't. That's a waste of money.
It seems wasteful, right.
But yeah, I think when it comes to deep emotions, grief, sadness, then you don't want to necessarily distract away from that. I think those are things you need to really lean in and allow yourself to feel. But if it's just a stressful day at work,
Why not? Why not play Pac-Man or whatever the game is?
Right.
Fortnite or whatever it is these days.
And I think in relationships, that's sort of like one of the biggest learning experiences you have is that not everyone thinks the same way that you do. You kind of just assume that everyone knows what you want
Right.
and copes in the same way and communicates in the same way. And I think this is like a big part of that. That's where you get the early on disagreements. But I think if you can work through that and understand that the other person isn't like against you, but they're just thinking about the same things you are in a way that makes more sense for them.
I love this podcast. Congratulations on
Thank
this.
you.
Thank you. Dynamic duo here. Give it up for Jordana and Dr. Naomi Bernstein. You can listen to Oversharing wherever you get your podcast.